Hey everybody, Windler here, and today we're going to look at Valorant's newest agent, ASTRA. ASTRA is the brand new controller Riot introduced, and a pretty complex one at that. This video specifically will be broken down into two parts, part 1 being ASTRA's kit, and part 2 being my first impressions on how to use her. So starting off with her kit is mainly focused around her stars. She doesn't have utility that you buy directly, such as a flash, a smoke, or a teleport. You just buy the stars and then use them in a given round however you like. So with her stars, there's some kind of quick facts or some nuances about them that it's kind of important to understand going into it. So at base, her stars cost 200 credits each, and you get 2 stars for free per round no matter what. So the minimum you will always have is 2 of your 5 stars, leaving the cost of a full utility buy should you need to being 600 credits, which is pretty cheap compared to other agents in the pool. Any stars you place on the map can be recalled at any time for a quick 2-second smoke, but there's 2 sort of catches to recalling stars. Recalled stars cannot be used instantly. There's a cooldown time before you can lay them out and place them wherever you feel, and stars recalled do not follow you into the next round. So what does this mean when I say they don't follow you? If you start with 3 stars, you place all of them and you recall all of them, you will go into the next round with just 2. If you start with 3 stars, you don't place any, you will go into the next round with 5. The odds of you going into a given round not using your utility is low, but just something to keep note if you're going on a save round. ASTRA's abilities are all bound to your stars that you have in play. You can have 5 stars and use gravity well on all of them in a given round if you want. You're just bound to the unique cooldowns of each individual ability. Jumping into ability 1, we have Gravity Well. Gravity Well, what this ability does is it spawns a black hole that drags opponents into the center. It has about a 5-meter radius. Opponents caught anywhere within this ability, even on the outer edge, become weakened, which means they're prone to more damage, which you can use this ability in combination with Raze's grenade or a Sage slow to kind of close the gap and stop them from leaving. There's a bunch of combinations you can do with this ability that makes it really dangerous on both attack and defense. And this ability has a 12-second cooldown once used before you can end up using it again. Ability number 2 is called Nova Pulse. It is a charged AoE strike that concusses opponents caught within the zone. The concuss lasts 5 seconds. The one catch with this ability is you have to actually be within the center of the radius. You can't be on the outer edge of the radius like you can with Gravity Well and still take the concuss effect. This ability also has a 12-second cooldown before you're able to use it again. Ability number 3 is called Nebula and Dissipate. The Nebula ability is essentially her smoke. 2 of them can be popped consecutively before entering a 14-second cooldown, and the smoke lasts the same duration. So you have a 14-second cooldown before you can use it, and the smoke lasts 14 seconds itself. Dissipate, on the other hand, is the ability that lets you call stars back. Using Dissipate allows a star to pop a smoke for 2 seconds before calling it back to you in a cooldown state. You can use this for a quick reposition, but it's hard to really know, at least right now, how effective this reposition could be used for. I think the audio of like using a jet dash or an omen teleport will still be kind of predictable, but it might be something you might be able to make work with an agent like Yoru to get them in a better position when Yoru buffs come down the line. Finally, her ultimate is called Cosmic Divide. This ability is essentially a global wall that lasts 20 seconds when placed. All sound on the opposite sides of the wall, no matter what side you're on, is heavily dampened, along with it blocking projectiles, which does include jet knives.
Spike planted. Spike planted.
So I couldn't even hear it. Going into my impressions, generally ASTRA I think is going to be a very tough agent to use efficiently if you are a solo queue type of player. This isn't saying she's a bad agent, her utility just requires an extremely high amount of game knowledge and communication that is really hard to track in a solo queue experience. Players that you're playing with need to be thinking similar on the same level that you're thinking, and getting that coordination out of a team queue is just really hard to do consistently. After using her in solo queue myself, I would just make a quick gauge in the pregame lobby if team is on mics or not before you lock in. Her execution level is on the same terms of like a Breach or a Viper, if not higher. She's an agent that will flourish in pro player within a team queue, but will struggle to use consistently in anything less than that, just due to how high her ceiling is. Now, if you are playing Astra on the other hand, she has a varied playstyle depending on the comp you're running with, hence Galaxy Brain type of player. She can work as a solo controller a lot more efficiently than Viper, obviously, or shift her role with another controller. She puts more spotlight on the double controller comps overall, which in my opinion is very healthy for the game in terms of meta variety. The final part of this video, we're just kind of gonna break down some attack and defense strats. For attacking side, Astra at first glance is probably one of the best post-plant agents we have to date. The reason for this is due to how versatile her kit is. She can set her stars up on the spike, resulting in extremely awkward retakes for the defending team. There's plenty of combos, kind of like I touched on earlier, of the gravity well and concuss, which combined with someone like a Killjoy, Brim, Molly, or Viper Molly can be extremely devastating. Optimal attacker play I think right now is to save 2 stars for smokes, deciding kind of like what site you want to hit, and then save the rest of your kit for post plant. These combinations would be best combined with Molly's or other AoE abilities. You can also use her gravity well to pull people into more dangerous peaks that are no longer safe, such as B Garage plus a Raise Grenade, or any other semi-dangerous sightlines to convince the enemy they aren't easy peaks or swings anymore. You don't really want to set up all your stars early game either, or pre-game, as you'll expose your base idea for attack. This is similar to burning Viper's wall too early. You do have the freedom of recalling your stars, but it's overall safer to decide first, then set up your execute after. Her ultimate also helps in opening new plant locations to hold that are normally deemed unsafe sightlines to plant. It's just important in similar fashion to communicate when the wall is dropping. Don't be baited and get too comfortable with the idea that the wall will endlessly protect you. Also, don't blind peek through the wall without some type of utility assistance, as a lot of the time the enemy team is waiting for you to do so. For defense, this is kind of where you want your fellow controller to focus on main smokes if possible, while you're able to set up defending entries. This changes obviously if you have to be the main smoker, but I'd still suggest using 2 to 3 stars for setups and retaining 2 for post-plant retakes if necessary. You can use gravity well on retakes to try and pull people out of favorable positions in combination with other teammates' AoE utility. Her ultimate should be used in retakes to zone off enough space to where the bomb is planted while still protecting your team. Depending on the distance, this wall can completely mute the stick audio and it can result in easy diffuses for your team. The closer the wall is to the bomb, the easier it is for opponents to not only defend it, but kill you in the process. The big thing with preventing entry on defense are pretty much sightlines. You can't really play blind, and if the enemy is already through your setup, it's too late. It's best to play an angle you can cover your utility with, or utilize a Sova Dart, Cypher Cam, Killjoy Turret to help you better gauge when to burn your util. I do think something with her wall is something that over time will become less and less safe, but it's still really hard for the opposing team to blind peek into the wall without some type of utility, especially if you're playing a team without any type of flashbang that they can throw through it, etc. The other thing to note is there is an audio cue when you're placing stars, so that might be another thing that teams will eventually pick up on, but it's still kind of important psychologically to teach them that it's not a safe swing. If they have to second guess a swing, you're already winning in that given round, and that goes for attack and defense. So in closing, I hope this video clarified some basics with Astra. As stated before, I don't really think she's a bad agent at all. She's just a tough controller to play efficiently in non-5-stack scenarios. I wouldn't suggest this agent if you are new to Valorant, as she requires a lot of background knowledge on how the game is played. Astra is very much the controller for players who love the IGL role, and I'm very interested to see how the pro scene picks her up in the ever-evolving meta. If this video helped you at all, feel free to hit the subscribe button. It's free and helps me out greatly, along with liking the video as well. I much appreciate it and do expect more new agent breakdowns in the future. Thanks for watching. when they're out.
One enemy remaining.
Virus.